The cult would be born out of the UK's post-punk movement. Frontman Ian Astbury would front the band's Southern Death Cult and would partner up with guitarist Billy Duffy, who played in the band Theatre of Hate. By Astbury's own admission to Canada's Much More Music TV channel, his bandmates in Southern Death Cult were more into getting girls than playing music, and having already met Duffy, he was in awe of the guitarist's musicianship. It was following the dissolution of Southern Death Cult in the early 80s that Astbury hopped on a bus and traveled to London with sheets of lyrics to meet with the guitarist and talk to him about forming their own band, which they did call Death Cult. Their name would eventually be shortened to the Cult so people wouldn't mischaracterize the band's style of music. Enlisting drummer Nigel Preston and bassist Jamie Stewart, the band would release their debut album Dreamtime in 1984. That was a modest success on the indie charts, selling around 60,000 copies, with the song Spiritwalker topping the UK indie dance charts. Despite a solid start, the Cult hadn't yet zeroed in on their signature sound, and that would come with their next release, 1985's Love. But the band would look back a decade to find inspiration, with frontman Ian Astbury telling Louder Sound there were certain guidelines in the post-punk new wave movement, and that was to stay clearly away from long hair and guitar solos. So for us, that was like, great, that's exactly where we're going to start. If that's where we're not supposed to be, according to some journalist, then that's exactly where we're starting. I wanted to find out what Taboo was all about. Then you'd hear Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and the Doors, and suddenly it's like, what is this? We're not supposed to listen to this. You're kidding me. We've always had a punk rock attitude, but it's less reactionary and more dynamic. The band would assemble in Barnes, London at Olympic Studios to cut their first track for their new album. The plan was to work with Susie and the Banshees producer Steve Lillywhite, but due to a misunderstanding with their label, the band soon found themselves in the studio with Wham producer Steve Brown. What should have been an unproductive recording session resulted in the perfect pairing between the band and producer. It was at these sessions the band recorded the song She Sells Sanctuary, which gave the group one of their most recognizable hits of their career. The track would peak at number 15 on the UK charts. It was a song that came together pretty quickly, with Astbury recalling in 2010. Sanctuary came together very easily, in fact. I took the bass line from a song called Spiritwalker. Billy came up with the melody, and we worked out a vaguely psychedelic guitar sound which seemed to fit it well. We were heavily into 60s psychedelic music. The producer Steve Brown had a lot of pop success, so he really knew how to structure a song. It's funny, you write a song like that where everything comes together far beyond what you could have expected, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to write another one as good. As for what the song was about, Astbury, according to Songfacts, said, and I quote, "Sex, plain and simple. It's about sex. I've had sex and I'm very proud of that fact," he'd say. The band would end up giving drummer Nigel Preston the boot following his erratic behavior and enlisted a new drummer. The band would spend 4 weeks in the summer of '85 recording Love. The lyrics on the album would be introspective, dealing with subjects ranging from life and death, spirituality, and materialism. Love would end up selling north of 2 million copies and produce several hits, including She Sells Sanctuary, Rain, and Revolution. The band would cap off the 80s, releasing several more hit albums, including the Rick Rubin-produced Electric and 1989's Sonic Temple. Despite the band's new commercial success, they would end up alienating some of their early fans. Astbury would tell Louder Sound, "I remember going out when She Sells Sanctuary got in the charts and some kid came up to me and punched me right in the face at a concert. There was so much hatred in his eyes, and all that was because we came from the streets of Brixton. We came from punk rock, and I think the guy saw us as breaking the code by not pretending we couldn't play our instruments or for having success." That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.